What's going on, everyone? The stock market is at all-time highs right now. Nvidia is crushing records by having $250 billion up days. And at the same time, we are seeing some giant names like Jeff Bezos, Mark Zuckerberg, and even Jamie Dimon dumping billions of dollars of their shares. While last week was super crazy, this week will be an exciting one as well, filled with a lot of big news and a lot of opportunities. So stick with us all the way to the end. We're going to go over everything you need to know and some great setups for the week. So let's get right into it, Tom.
Yeah, that was insane last week. NVIDIA's earnings really fueled that big uptrend out of the overall market, and SPY ran up to a new all-time high on Friday, right around this big 510 mark. That's going to be a big area to watch over the next few days. If we can break 510, that will be awesome. I even noticed there's a pretty big support here, right around 507 from Thursday and Friday, so definitely watch that coming up this week for a breakdown. Next support's like right around 504.50 or so, but it's awesome to see the market moving up to these highs like this, Mike. And you know what? The market keeps going. We keep seeing good volatility, good movement up. But at the same time, it's like, I feel like that with these insiders selling and with everything that we're seeing going on, it's starting to get a little bit freaky, right? Whenever you mention those big names like Bezos, Zuckerberg, and others selling shares, that definitely puts a pretty big worry on the overall market. And we will go over that in a minute, but I know there's this awesome chart showing new highs and lows and just how many highs have been happening in the market lately.
Exactly. So basically what we're seeing on this chart is how many NYSE listed stocks are breaking their all-time highs relative to the ones breaking their lows. And as we can see, there's a lot more high breaking action lately than the low breaking action. And it basically goes to show that there is a lot of euphoria in the market right now. I mean, the S&P 500, the NASDAQ 100, and the Dow all closed at records last week. NVIDIA crushed it on their earnings report, and across the board, there's a lot of buying and there's a whole lot of euphoria. But as you mentioned, while that's awesome and all, there are some pretty big names that are at least de-risking themselves a little bit. Jeff Bezos recently dumped $8.5 billion worth of his shares. Mark Zuckerberg sold $428 million worth of his shares lately. And the most interesting of all, at least in my opinion, is how Jamie Dimon recently dumped $150 million worth of his shares. And Jamie Dimon's sale is interesting because he has never sold JP Morgan shares ever before. This is the first time in history Jamie Dimon is ever selling JP Morgan shares, and by looking at this chart right here, you can see he normally does a pretty dang good job at timing his trades.
Yeah, at least the buying side, right? Like, we haven't ever got to see him sell yet, but, I mean, you would assume that such a big player picks a great time to sell, and with the market being at highs right now, why wouldn't these guys sell, right? Like, Meta's stock this year is insane. Thank God he didn't sell it at 90, right? But either way, I see that Jamie Dimon's starting to sell his shares. That's a pretty big thing, Mike, and that's a lot of money worth of shares, right? Like, $150 million is, at the end of the day, no joke on some of these stocks. And whenever we start to go and we look at whether it's JP Morgan or Meta or etc., you go out to the daily and these stocks have been blasting up. I feel like the banks have actually been a little bit under the radar, Mike, because, NVIDIA and these other stocks are kind of stealing the highlight, I guess we would say. But even stocks like Citigroup have been moving up very consistently this year.
Exactly. And when it comes to insider trading, when insiders buy shares of stock, they're buying that stock for one reason and one reason only, and that's because they think the stock's going to go up. Insiders can sell their shares because they want a new yacht or they want a new beach house, or it's because they think the stock can just, is overvalued and they think it's going to fall. We don't know if these insiders are selling because they think the stocks are going to fall or if they just want a brand new airplane, right? But what does make it interesting, though, is that Jeff Bezos and Jamie Dimon specifically aren't ones to sell that often. The last time Jeff Bezos dumped his shares, it was very close to the top in 2021 on Amazon stock. And Jamie Dimon at JP Morgan has never sold shares before. So you can't help but think they're at least a little bit skeptical with the current action.
Yeah, exactly. It's not like we're just seeing like one specific guy sell, right? Like we're seeing Jamie Dimon sell, but then we're seeing all these other big players selling too. It's not like we're just seeing, one specific scenario where like, how Elon was selling to like get money to pay taxes or something, right? It's not something like that. It seems like it's something more across the board with multiple, I guess, big players out there. And Mike, whenever I think of these bigger players out there like Bill Gates and Jamie Dimon and, Bezos, they can have some pretty big weighting. And this might start to make other people want to sell too, right? Like some people follow these big insiders. I'm not saying like that people are necessarily buying exactly every time they're buying or selling at the exact time, but now that's going to be in people's minds, right? And if the stock starts to fall a little bit, which everything's a little bit overextended. I mean, if it starts to pull back, it might start to create that snowball effect, and we'll get a true pullback coming in. So it's definitely a big scare out there, in my opinion. And, whenever these big players start to sell, we've seen big downtrends time and time again come out of those stocks.
Exactly. So in the short term, there's a lot of euphoria in the market. And in the meantime, take advantage of it. If you see stocks ripping to the upside and, everything is just super green and it's all sunshine and rainbows, then strike on those opportunities. But at the same time, be very adaptable deep down in the event that, the sentiment does turn. And one thing that I thought was also very interesting this weekend is that we can see that if you did want to play the downside, the current price of put options on the S&P 500 are among the cheapest that they've been in some time. Basically on the chart right here, on this white line, you could see like the price of a 25 delta put option for the S&P 500, and it's among the lowest it's been in quite a while. So it's like, if you did want to play the downside, it's pretty cheap to do it right now.
Yeah, it is. And that's a cool thing to see because whenever people start to look at calls right now, they all seem way overpriced, especially on some of these crazy stocks like SMCI, right? Like I'm seeing some of the weekly call options going for what, like, 4 or 5 grand at the money, if not even higher. And I know that necessarily the puts aren't going to be cheap there, but whenever you go and you look at the SPY, it's just people are not really expecting that downside move right now because we had that peak upside euphoria. But whenever the downside starts to come, we'll see those premiums start to shoot up a ton, right? And that's what's going to be awesome for the puts. So keep that in mind, guys. And it's going to be like that for multiple stocks, right? You'll see Nvidia, Amazon, Microsoft, Apple. I mean, well, maybe not Apple because they've been kind of bad lately, but either way, the overall market, it's good to see those puts prices a little bit lower, and I think that helps to fuel uptrend in the short term. But at the same time, it's like, whenever those premiums start to truly rise, then it's going to be awesome.
Exactly. And, looking at all of the craziness in the market right now, whether you're looking at just the S&P 500 or you're looking at Nvidia or SMCI or any other crazy stock lately, there's been a lot of money to have been made off of these giant moves. And I saw this super interesting article on Friday where basically it turns out that a Houston man just pleaded guilty to insider trading after basically eavesdropping on his wife's work remote Zoom calls, and he made $1.7 million by trading off of this information. So basically, this guy in Houston was just eavesdropping on his, wife's calls, and she worked at BP, and he found out that they were about to acquire this company, Travel Centers of America. The guy bought 46,000 shares of that stock, and the next thing you know, BP goes to do the acquisition. The shares pop up by 71%. The guy makes $1.76 million, ends up getting caught, and then his wife eventually divorced him too. But, Tom, to think if he only just would have ran for Congress, he would have gotten away with it.
I know, right? Like, isn't that insane? Like, literally, if he was like in Congress or something, he could do this. But that is pretty crazy, right? I mean, I can't believe a guy did this. Eavesdropped, made 1.76 million, and apparently he did it so that his wife could like retire and all this stuff, and then she left him for it. Like,
crazy.
I couldn't believe it when I heard that, Mike. But it's an insane thing going on here. Whenever I see stories like this, it's obviously not anything groundbreaking. Like, we can't really use this in the market, but it's always interesting, right? And this is one of the more funnier stories. So let me know in the comments what you guys thought of this.
The stock market is never short of any dramatic stories. Sometimes it's insider trading off of eavesdropping off of Zoom calls. Other times it's Only God knows what at the time, right? But I figured this was super interesting, and why not share it in the nightly video? So that is that. But Tom, while last week was jam-packed with NVIDIA earnings, we do have a couple other fun reports lined up for this week, so fill us in.
Yeah, we do. There's some big names on here. So first things off, Monday and after hours, we have Unity, Zoom, and Workday, even Car Gurus and iRobot there. So Monday's pretty big. Tuesday, we have Norwegian Cruise Line and Lowe's. And after hours Tuesday, DVN or Devon. Even down here, they kind of put it at the bottom, but Beyond Meat, Lemonade, Splunk, fairly popular stocks lately. Wednesday, Baidu, another China stock. And after hours Wednesday, Mara, which has been, super popular lately with all the Bitcoin craziness going on. Then Snowflake and Salesforce, which are pretty huge companies. AI as well Wednesday. So, Mike, it's a pretty action-packed week. After that, there's not really too much on Thursday and Friday, maybe like Best Buy and Birkenstock, Budweiser, even AB InBev. But the main things I'm seeing here are Snowflake and Salesforce. I think those will be two huge reports for like the AI and just tech sector in general. And then even AI Wednesday will be interesting. So Wednesday night to me is going to be the most important.
Sounds good. I'll also keep a close eye on Zoom tomorrow in after hours. It's not too crazy of a stock, but I am curious on this report. But besides that, good stuff there for earnings. And then how is the economic schedule looking?
Yeah, so pretty big. Overall, Monday, nothing too crazy. Tuesday, we have some Fed speakers, durable good orders coming out 1 hour before open. Wednesday, we have some GDP data and some more Fed speakers. And then Thursday, we have the PCE price index and the core PCE price index, which will be one of the biggest things that the Feds are looking at. So keep your eyes on these data points coming up this week. It's going to be pretty big, and we'll talk about them a lot more as those days approach.
Perfect. So now we are golden for the good stuff for today, which are some setups and predictions for tomorrow. A stock I'm watching very closely right now is Moderna, and I had a pretty close eye on this one last week as well. I am watching this one for a potential earnings continuation. It had a tremendous day in the market on Thursday. Then it pulled back a little bit on Friday, but nothing to be like too concerned about. If this stock can get back to like that $100 area and just hold above it in a meaningful way, I will definitely be watching this one to the upside for a potential earnings continuation. Again, it had a great move on Thursday. We saw a little bit of profit taking on Friday, but if we could get back on that uptrend, I think this one can have a pretty nice run over like the next week or two.
Yeah, and a lot of times on these earnings moves, they'll have that good run the next day, and then they will pull back for a day or two before running. So I'll definitely keep it on the radar. It's something that we've seen quite a bit. With my first play, I'm going with a bigger name, right? SPY. I usually pick like an individual stock here, but I see a pretty big opportunity here with SPY. It hit 510 last week, and there's a huge support at 507. I'm actually going to be careful of this 507 support giving out, and then looking at it to the downside. I'll be looking at puts for that. At the same time, though, if we get up and we start breaking 510, then I will be adaptable and look at calls, of course, if everything's flying up. But I'm going to really watch this support, and if it gives out, maybe watch for a pullback towards 505 to 504.50.
All right, sounds good. Another stock I'm watching pretty closely is GLD right now. So this is gold. It follows gold prices. It had a pretty good day on Friday, but nothing too crazy as of yet. But it's still very close to its all-time highs. The dollar's been chilling out a little bit and, just showing some pretty good price action overall. So I will have a close eye on GLD, for tomorrow, but it's more so over like the next couple of days and even the next week, because GLD is not one of those stocks that moves up a ton on a daily basis, but it does have some really good moves over the course of multiple days, because we do see gap ups and gap downs pretty often with this one.
Yeah, we do, and I will say the options are always pretty enticing, too. Like, they'll usually have fairly decent moves, so I like it quite a bit, Mike. I'll keep my eyes on gold and even the other metals out there. With my next one, I'm looking at AMD. They had a pretty big pullback Friday. Now, I think AMD could be a play for both directions, of course. If we do continue up, that'll be awesome. Maybe make it break this double, triple top up around 183.80. That's a pretty big resistance there from Thursday and Friday. But if it ends up falling down under this 174 mark, then I'm going to go ahead and look at puts. And again, kind of like the SPY play, I feel like this one could pull back a little bit this week. So watch for that pullback, and I'll be targeting 170 if we do break 174.
All right, sounds good. Well, let's get right into the momentum plays for tomorrow. And with the first one, we have Square to the upside, which is another recent earnings stock.
Yeah, I've had a resistance on Square for a while, right around this 83.25 mark, and it hit there last week, started consolidating. So if we break 83.25, then go ahead and look at calls.
All right, with the next one, we have Netflix, but to the downside.
NFLX, one of the big boys on the block. If they break under 579.50, then go ahead and look at puts just under that huge 580 support.
All right, and then with the last one, we have Tesla for both directions.
TSLA, pretty big, all right, so I'd say more of like a crazy mover last week, right? It was very choppy, all over the place. There were a lot of big intraday swings at the end of the day. I'm going to go ahead and look at this one to break down under 190, then I up put. If it ends up breaking back above 194, which was a good intraday resistance, then I'll look at calls.
All right, sounds good. So we have the upside level for calls, we have the downside level for puts, and that is with Tesla. Don't forget about the downside level with Netflix, and then the upside level with Square. These three stocks are on close watch for tomorrow for potential day trades. We want to see strong breaks through the levels Tom listed, and then continuations in that direction. So keep a close eye on these three for tomorrow, but we can't forget about today's big money $2,047,000 trade of the day from Friday, and we are looking at ticker symbol GOLD. So gold, this is Barrick Gold. It is a gold mining company. The big money put a little bit over $2 million into the GOLD 12 strike call options that expire on September 20th of 2024. So this is a gold mining company. The stock is at some relatively low levels. At the same time, we just talked about with gold prices are trending in the right direction. That definitely helps a company like this. These call options are in the money, and they have a decent amount of time to them. So I definitely think this setup has some pretty good potential, and I'll have some very close eyes on this one going throughout the rest of the year, because with the election year and all the craziness that comes along with that, seeing a bullish trade on gold mining, on a gold mining stock, especially with call options in the money, on a $2 million trade that has a couple months of time to it as well, definitely not bad.
Yeah, and really, I mean, it's down around big long-term support as well. Like, I can zoom out multiple years back to like 2014, 2015 on this stock, and it's bounced off of this like $12 to $13 area multiple times. I guess I should say 12 to 14, but multiple times off of that area. I'll definitely be looking at it. The one thing that I think's a slight negative is gold prices are around all-time highs right now, and this has been down in the dumps. But then again, I think that they could come back as those prices are elevated, and obviously, they profit more as they mine the gold. But I like it, Mike. It's one of my favorite big money plays in a while, and it's one of those set it and forget it ones that I think could be really good this year.
Yeah, me too. So keep a close eye on this one going forward. But Tom, last week was a pretty explosive week, and it was filled with a bunch of opportunities. So looking in the profits channel of the Stocked Up Discord, we can see it is just filled to the brim. But there's one member I especially want to give a shout out to, and that is Hawk's Nest 316. On Friday, he said, didn't think Rivian could make any money, but made me some lunch money. So there we go, and I hope you had a good lunch on Friday. But giant shout out to you. You are today's member of the day. You're still relatively new to the chat, but you've been a fantastic member so far. So keep up the great work and keep on rolling with those trades.
Yeah, that's awesome. Let's go. And hey, hopefully that's just the beginning, right? You're brand new to the group. I think that as time goes forward, you'll like it even more, and you'll get more used to the bots and some of the big plays and stuff like that coming out. So let's go, Hawk's Nest. That was a great day Friday, and let's keep it up this week.
There we go. Well, all across the board, we have a lot of action going on, Tom, as we stated with the, big insiders selling billions, with the stock market euphoria continuing each and every day. No matter what your trading style is or how you choose to place trades in the market, the number one most important thing right now is to be adaptable. There is a ton of market euphoria, and there's a lot of upside short-term opportunities with that. At the same time, if the market does shift quickly, those who are willing to adapt the quickest are those who are going to do the best. So keep that in mind going forward. We have some more exciting earnings on the way. Come join Tom and I in the Stocked Up trading floor with the first link in the description in the comments down below. Get access to our army of trading robots. And besides that, guys, let's have an amazing week in the markets.